Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Well, it's a special Tuesday edition of Life Planning 101 right after the long holiday weekend. And Angela Kennedy Robinson is in studio with great information. Once again, I forgot to ask you what our topic was before we went on the air, so it's a surprise to all of us.
Well, it is a surprise to all of us, and it's actually a great topic. It's a special topic because usually we talk more generalizations on the show.
Right.
And I really wanted to get specific with this topic because, you know, a lot of times I don't, let me back up. A lot of times I don't like to talk specifics because they only fit a small crowd. And, you know, the whole goal of the show is, and you know this, that, you know, I say prayer every week that no matter what, that I'm able to help somebody somewhere. That's listening, right? To be able to make a good decision about their life planning.
And we have no idea where that might be because we're worldwide.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. So, you know, I try to keep to generics. And this week I'm going to get very specific, but I don't want that to cut off anybody's ears. And the reason I say that is even if you think this doesn't apply to you, it might apply to you. And it really is one of the best kept secrets in the industry that everybody needs to be aware of, because the moment that you have availability or access to this, you need to be taking advantage of it.
Right.
And so, and we've briefed on this generically in other shows before, but I wanted to take a deep dive. And what really brought my attention to this is that we've been so blessed. We've had a lot of business over the last few months. I've been doing a ton of plans, and I'm running into a lot of these, but I'm running into them and people are not utilizing them to their full capacity. In fact, they're not utilizing them to what they're meant to be. And why President Trump and his administration are so favorable for these is what they're meant to be. So I really want to talk about this because I think that, you know, we have a Congress, a Senate, and a president that are fully supportive of this. And I really do think it's a bipartisan thing because, and when I talk about it, you'll understand. I do think this is a bipartisan thing. But if we have the Republicans to push this in, this could be big for everybody. But it's health savings accounts.
Okay. And
like I said, they are the best kept secret in the industry. Why? Because the tax incentives on these things are unbelievable. Okay, they really are in their infancy. They started back in 2004. And a lot of people say, well, okay, that's not completely in its infancy. That was 13 years ago. Well, compare that to some other things like a flexible spending account, which most people are accustomed to if they're working with a large company. Those have been around since 1978.
Right.
So we've got quite a bit of difference in time frame. And I think that's why most people are not familiar with an HSA, or they think that they are like a flexible spending account, an FSA, but they are completely different. So we're going to first talk about how they are different. Second, we're going to talk about the grand tax incentives. Third, we're going to talk about how you can use them even if you're not using them and what you need to be looking for. And fourth, we're going to talk about how that they can help your future retirement, believe it or not. Yes, very interesting show. So we've got a lot planned out, a lot going on here. We're going to take a short break early in the show so that we can deep dive into this because I don't want Terry to cut me off, and he's known to do that. So with that, you don't want to miss Health Savings Account, the best kept secret in the industry.
More Life Planning 101 coming up right after this. And Life Planning 101 continues here on KATX, KWBY. Great topic this morning on this Tuesday morning, Angela.
Yes. And we were talking about health savings accounts. And I want you to hear some of these statistics. Okay, so like I said, these became available in 2004. In 2006, they were recorded to have about $1.7 billion in funds. Okay, so they hit the ground running. But get this, 10 years later in 2016, there was 37 billion funds, and it's projected to be at 53 billion this year. So this is growing astronomically, which I think people are catching light of what they really are and what they can really do for you, right? So let's take a step back and let's talk about flexible spending accounts, because this is, if you work for a large corporation, you're probably accustomed to these, and they've been around since 1978. People don't like them. Okay. Reason they don't like them is if you're young and healthy or fit and healthy and your family is, you typically don't want to put money into them, because if you don't use the reimbursement arrangement by March 15th of the next year, every penny you've put into them is gone. So what good did that do you, right?
That's no good at all.
Yeah, no good at all. Now, if you're not healthy and you know that you're constantly going to chiropractors or constantly doing this or this or this or this, yeah, okay.
Prescription drugs?
Prescription drugs can count. I mean, all of those things, obviously, then a flexible spending account could work for you. So there are some advantages there. Don't get me wrong. But for the majority of people, okay, take someone that's wanting to just save as much as they can save, lower their taxes as much as they can so they can put money back for themselves in the future, but they're healthy or their family's healthy, then it's not a good deal at all, because you can end up losing the whole enchilada. And then worse is there's no access to those funds except for qualifying medical expenses, deductibles, doctors, hospitals, prescriptions, anything not paid by your insurance virtually. So it's not the best system. Now, HSAs, your health savings account, on the other hand, addresses all of those issues. They mitigate everything, okay? You don't have to spend your contributions each year. You can let them continue to compile. In fact, if you die, they go to your heirs.
Okay.
Pretty cool. Okay. There's a lot more flexibility in the term qualified medical expenses. Big difference. And here's just an example. If you were to lose your job and go on or not go on unemployment but file unemployed, you can actually take your HSA to pay your insurance premiums. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an emergency savings fund from that perspective, right? Because who wants to stop their insurance? That's what most people are primarily worried about when they lose their job. What about my insurance? What about my benefits? Well, here's a way you can mitigate that, right? And you can even have access to the monies without qualified expenses. Now, there's a penalty, 20%. It's pretty hefty. Plus, you got to pay the taxes on any growth that's incurred inside of the plan. But you can tap it.
If you have to
have it, you can get to it. And when you reach 65, guess what? Bye-bye penalty. It goes away entirely.
But you still have to pay your tax on the growth.
Still have to pay your tax on the growth, okay?
But no 20% penalty.
But no 20% penalty. So pretty neat.
Yes.
So it mitigates all those issues of an FSA. I get that all the time. The first, well, I don't want to do it because I would lose it. And nope, that's a misnomer. You're used to a flexible spending account. This is an HSA. It's entirely different, okay? And furthermore with that, so we're talking a little bit about growth. Let's talk about that for a second, because that is a huge aspect to this, okay? The most common mistake I see people make when they are using their HSA is they try to use it. Why are you trying to use savings? I don't understand. Okay, so because only if you need it. That's exactly right. Like, remember how I said it's kind of an emergency plan,
right?
Well, this is the way I think about it. This is how my mind works, and I have a crazy mind, so bear with me here, okay? But let's take a worst case scenario. I was actually working on one of these last week. We have a couple in Montana, and they're paying 53% taxes between their state taxes and their federal taxes. 53%. So let's just call that a flat 50 to be nice, okay? All right. So if they make a contribution to their HSA, and as a family this year, you can make a contribution in the amount of $67.50. So if they make that contribution, it's going to save them $33.75 in taxes. So it paid for half of it. Right? Okay, so what I want you to think about right now is if you make that contribution, you just had Uncle Sam save you some extra dollars, right? That's like 100% return on your money. That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Not getting it anywhere else.
You're not getting it anywhere else. Furthermore, if you work for a company, a lot of companies are now matching with these. Oh, yes, they are. So that's even better, right? Okay, now, here's the second aspect to an HSA that people don't know about. You can link it to a brokerage account and have it grow.
That was one of the questions I was sitting here thinking, where can you put this money?
Well, where can you put your money? What can you do? Well, and that is a great question, because there's a big problem with this. Now, remember, this is still in its infancy, all right? And this is how big the problem is. Morningstar just did a huge piece of research on HSAs, and there's like 400 to 500 plans available from providers right now. So that's a lot. But by the time they actually got down analyzing the 10 largest plans out there and evaluating the criteria like monthly maintenance fees, which you have to watch out for if you got a bad HSA, and the mutual fund offerings that they might offer inside of there was only one compelling plan out of 400 to 500 plans for investments. So that tells you how much, the industry has a lot for improvement. However, the cool thing is, and us, we're always like, okay, you give us a no, we're going to go find a yes. And so we actually have a way with TD Ameritrade that we've partnered there, who we use for our trading platform. And we can actually link any HSA to that TD account, pull the money into the brokerage account, and manage it as needs. Pretty cool,
That is really cool.
Yeah. And so you think about, just like your retirement money, or just like we would do with someone needing income, if you were setting this aside for emergency money, obviously you use the same bucket theory. What could you need in the next 12 months? Well, let's keep that more liquid or more short term. What could you need over the next 36 months? And then let the rest of it just grow for your future. Because I've never met a retiree yet that thinks they have too much money. I promise you. And especially when it comes to healthcare. Okay, do you think your cost of healthcare are going to go up or down?
Up,
right. And what is happening around us? Inflation. It's crazy. I remember starting in this industry and hearing about the cost of long-term care, and it's like $75 a day. Now we're looking at $200. It's like nuts. So it's out of control. So you're not going to have too much money. And the common mistake that people make is they think, I need to use this for anything else. No. Try to use your own savings account to pay your deductibles. Try to use your own budget to pay for things. Now, this can be your backup. Right. Absolutely. Why not?
Major health issue arise.
Exactly.
But you don't have the funds to.
Exactly. That's why you always want to keep a portion of it short term. Doesn't mean it doesn't have to earn anything, but keep a portion of it short term, but let the rest of it grow. And people often make that mistake. Why is that so powerful? Well, it's powerful because an HSA acts like a Roth IRA. An HSA, once you have the monies in there, the monies are not going to be taxed as they grow. They're going to be tax deferred. And like a Roth IRA, if they're taken out appropriately, guess how they come out? Tax-free.
Tax-free.
Wow.
So if you use it for health reasons.
Yes. Tax-free.
Tax-free.
Exactly. If not, it's just like your IRA when you retire. It's no different at 65.
So if you have a principal investment of, just for the sake of round numbers, $10,000, and you've had $1,000 worth of growth on that, and you pull that but you got $1,000 deductible you got to pay, so you pull that out.
Right.
It's tax free. You'll never pay taxes.
That's
on
correct. It's pretty impressive. Absolutely. Yep, and you're going to have the expenses when you retire. A lot of people don't understand that your eye care, your dental care, none of that is covered by Medicare. And how often are you going to go to the dentist when you retire? My bet, once to twice a year. And if you haven't been going to your teeth, you're probably going a lot more than that, aren't you?
And talk about inflation.
Yes.
The cost of dental services.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I agree with that. Totally. I have to budget for it. Anyway, so, it's really a powerful thing. You get a tax deduction up front. The money can grow virtually tax-free, and it can come out tax-free. How cool is that? Yeah. There's nothing else.
Win.
Yes, there's nothing else. That's why I say it is the best kept secret in the entire industry. Now, there are potential hiccups, and I want to talk to you about those when we come back. You don't want to miss this.
We'll be back with more Life Planning 101 right after this on KTX KWBY. And the final segment of Life Planning 101 right here on KTX KWBY. Angela Robinson has some more great information.
Yes, we're talking about the best kept secret in the industry, right? Health savings account, at least for those people that are still wanting to put back money. I guess we could make that caveat, right? But it is really good because people really don't understand this. And, HSAs, they rival with your 401k. They really do. And for purposes that unlike the 401k where it's taxable coming out, this has the potential to be tax-free coming out, but you still get the upfront deduction. Okay. Also, they're pre-tax for FICA and Medicare purposes as well. Absolutely no tax on the suckers.
Yes.
That's absolutely wonderful. So, and you can invest your contributions just like you can inside of your retirement plan, which is furthermore a reason to do it. I want to talk to you though about some things that are potentially pitfalls, because this is really key. Okay, first of all, if you are rivaling it with your 401k, you have to ask yourself, is my employer matching my 401k and not my HSA? Okay, well, if they're matching both, you better be contributing to both. That's just all I got to say. If you're not, that's just crazy. 100% return on your money, you need to be doing that, right?
Absolutely.
But don't just forego your 401k to put money in your HSA because of the tax benefits if your employer is matching, because it takes a long time to make up 100% return. I'm sorry. Okay. So be careful of that. The second thing is you have to have a specific type of insurance to qualify for participation in a health savings account. Now, this is where I say the government, I foresee in coming months, is really going to help us with this. I think they want to allow more people to put money back for their own health care because there's an obvious problem looming on all of us, right? And that's why I say it's bipartisan. It's not just one-sided here. So I see this being something that becomes permanent over time and actually grows, just like your retirement plans are expanding at the moment. But you do have to be careful at the moment. You've got to have what you call a HDHP plan. It's a high deductible healthcare plan, okay? And that's tricky because high deductible, you could have a high deductible plan and it isn't an HDHP plan. I don't know why. I don't understand that at all. But I have actually seen people come in. The HDHP plan was less deductible than the plan they were on, and they couldn't contribute to the HSA.
Right.
So we had to switch plans for them. Now, that can often be done. You can always ask your HR people or, a lot of business owners, you might be working with just an HR company. Ask them when you can switch among plans. Or if you're just a business owner and you do your health insurance direct, you always call a company and ask them what are my options for going on a high deductible healthcare plan eligible for an HSA, right? And we found a lot of times it's simple. Sometimes it's more beneficial for you to be on those plans. Companies are wanting you to lean towards those. And the reason why they're wanting you to lean towards those is if you put money back for your own health care, too, it alleviates some problems with billing down the road, right? So they like it as well. So they're incentivizing their overall consumer to do it. Now, you have to ask yourself, though, what changes in my benefits? Because like I said, sometimes it makes sense really well. Sometimes it might not. Sometimes that plan may not give you benefits that you need for your particular situation. Pay particular attention to the drug plan. Okay, if you're on drugs, be careful because that could be a significant change among plans.
Right.
And you want to make sure that you're still being able to be covered, especially if you've got some astronomically priced drugs.
And there are some out there.
There are some out there. That's right. So, and the second thing to think about is your HSA should go hand in hand with your overall planning. Even though it sounds great, it sounds rosy, it may not benefit you right now. First of all, do you have enough liquidity? Have you been a good saver and you've got enough set aside for emergency situations? Does your family have some kind of specialized or routine medical care that's needed? If that's the case, an HSA may not be appropriate for you, or maybe more of an in and out HSA is appropriate for your situation, or the flexible savings account. You got to ask yourself those things. And if you're investing, you got to consider, again, like we talked about earlier, what's the level of risk that you need to be taking? Do you need to have buckets set up? And does your investments need to correlate and coordinate with the rest of your retirement portfolio? Which I would bet the answer is
yes.
Absolutely. So it is really important to consider. And I know that complicates things. And I often have this in my head that confused mind says no. A confused mind says no. And the reason I have that in my head is I never want to be guilty of explaining something that's so complicated that no one ever does, because it could be beneficial, and I'm sitting there walking away, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do that? It's so good for you, So I want people to understand that this really is a simple process.
You don't want people saying, man, why didn't I do this years ago?
That's exactly right. No one should have any of those regrets we
Right.
always talk about, right? So it is easy. First step is check with your healthcare provider. Are you eligible? What would make you eligible? How does that change your plan? Is it worth it to do it, right? And then the second step is easy one, just call us if you need help, right? So that's what we do. We help you with all the facets of, is it right for you? Is that, what are your contribution limits? How much do you need to be contributing? And then also the investment side of that, which is huge in my opinion. Absolutely huge. So, like I said, I get excited about this because this is a very impressive tool. It's not something that we've had for very long. We have had since 2004. We have not had the investment availability with HSAs like we've had until recently, which is astronomical. But I don't see this going away because, again, we've got an administration that is pushing this to
Right.
happen. And also, I don't see any other party coming in and taking it away because it is just too good for all the benefit of our entire nation economically over the years to come, right? So let's go back down this checklist before we close out the show. Let's summarize. We got pre-income tax, federal in some states, pre-FICA tax, pre-Medicare tax. You can carry the thing from year to year, employer to employer, doesn't matter. You can invest it for the long term. You can grow tax-free. Your distributions can be tax-free if taken out appropriately, and you can access the money even if it's not for a qualifying medical expense.
And once you turn 65,
You can access it
The
without
penalty goes
penalty.
away.
That's correct. So, great tool. Make sure you don't forget to put it in your tool belt and see if it works for your unique situation. My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services. Want to God bless America, and let's pray for all the people in Florida, Montana, and here in Texas. We've got a lot going on in our nation.
boy, a whole lot of stuff going on. Keep an eye on Irma.
Yes.
She's out there.
Yes.
Great show, Angela.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton and Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton and Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group LLC.